Welcome to all
Thank
of
you.
you are on this Adrian Dominican Sisters story. I am honored to be able to carry on a conversation this afternoon with Sister Mary Ann Phillip. Now, Mary Ann Phillip, her religious name was Sister Phillip Ann. Some of you may know her by that instead of her baptismal name. So we're going to have a little conversation about her life. And we get to get her whole life in 30 minutes. So welcome, Mary Ann, and thank you for your graciousness and your willingness to share in this congregation history project. Let's begin at the beginning. I understand that you were born in Rockford, Illinois. So you can carry on. Tell us a little bit about your early family life, your parents, siblings, whatever you want us to know.
Okay, I was born in Rockford, Illinois, March 8th, 1940. And I grew up in a family there were 7 of us, 4 boys and 3 girls. I am the first girl. And we lived on the west side or the east side of Rockford. We grew up in a little house. There were just 3 bedrooms. My parents had one, boys had one, and the girls had one. But it was a nice place. I went to public school and kindergarten.
Well, let's go back to your family. So that was a rather large family. So
yes.
What was family life like?
It was fun. You know, I was in the middle of third one down. But we enjoyed it. We used to go skating down the street. There was a park. They closed it, and we went skating. We went to another park, and we did our sledding. And it was fun. Being the oldest girl, I became the babysitter for the younger one.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Interesting dynamic.
That's what happened.
And your parents?
My dad worked at a hosiery factory. He made nylons.
Interesting. With seams, I'm sure, back then.
Oh, yes. And he used to bring home the spindles, that they had the yarn or the nylon around.
Right.
He put them in the furnace in the basement. That was, part of, besides wood and...
Oh, kindling. Oh.
He used that. My mom, of course, stayed at home because of all the kids. But it was a happy time.
Good. Good.
We lived about 3 or 4 blocks from the public school. So kindergarten and first grade, I went to a public school.
Okay.
Then in second grade, I went to the Catholic school, St. James. And we had to take the city bus. They didn't have school buses in those days.
No.
Took the city bus to school. We had the Cincinnati Dominicans.
Okay.
I just fell in love with my second and third grade teacher, especially. My third grade teacher was Sister Marie Christine, and she asked me one day, "How'd you get those freckles?"
Oh, cute.
I said, "I have no idea."
Irish.
Well, yeah, Irish. She said, "Well, the sun kissed you."
Oh.
I always remembered that. Anyhow, then we transferred about 4th grade. We moved to the west side, and I went to St. Peter's School, which was the cathedral school now. The chancery was right across from the school, and we'd be playing on the playground and watch the bishop come out and take his walks outside, But I had the Sisters of Loretto.
Okay.
When I was then finished up through 8th grade, 4th through 8th grade. Father Frank Kennedy, Esther and Ellen's brother, he was one of our associate priests there. Yeah. So I graduated from St. Peter's, and then I went to Muldoon High School.
Right.
And the Adrian Dominicans were there. Muldoon, when my mom went there, was the teachers were Cincinnati Dominicans, the same ones that I had in 2nd and 3rd grade.
Wow.
But the Adrians, I don't know what year the Adrians took the school over, but anyhow, I went to Muldoon, and let's see, I had various sisters from the community that I remember, of course, John Marie, who was Irene Morentz,
Okay. Mhm.
Sister Frances Gerald. Those are the two I think that made the most impression on me. You know. And then I was a junior, and I was at morning mass, and Father Kennedy had the mass. It was the Feast of the Annunciation. And after mass, I went into the sacristy and I said to him, Father, I think God is calling me.
Oh,
That was when I first thought of becoming an Adrian Dominican. So,
wait, what, how did you know that? What did
well,
you?
I don't know, you listen to the readings, it was Mary, being called,
Uh-huh.
creation, and I just felt, I really loved the sisters, and I had thought about it probably before, but that day it just, sometimes during mass, it just hit me.
So you moved with it fast.
That was in March, yes, because March 25th, I think, is the Feast of the Annunciation. And I entered in June, so it was very fast.
Oh my.
But
What did your mother and dad think?
Well, they were okay with it. They wish, I think, that I had waited a little longer, but because I just finishing my junior year.
Right.
But there were two other sisters, or two other girls in my class, Joan Evans and
Right.
Pierre. So the three of us got together and talked to Sister John Marie, Irene.
Uh-huh.
And she became my sponsor. Of course, Joan Evans had her sister in the community.
Right, I remember.
And I think Judy, probably Sister John Marie, Irene probably took Judy under her wings also. And then there were two seniors, Sharon Culhane and her cousin Libby. So the five of us entered on the same day.
Okay, so you entered after your junior year.
After my junior year. The three of us were juniors, just finishing junior year. And then the two of them had already graduated. So there were five of us from Muldoon.
Back to your family for a minute. Now there were seven of you, seven kids. Okay, how did your siblings feel about this?
Well, they were okay. The youngest one was just, gosh, I don't think she was even 5 years old.
Okay.
And I remember her sitting on the back swing saying, "Will I ever see you again?"
Oh, cute. Uh-huh.
Because we didn't have visitation every year.
No, we sure didn't. No.
She knew I was going away, But I think they were all okay with it,
Extra space. There's extra space at the table.
That's right. You figure 7 kids.
Right.
My oldest brother worked, though, a lot. He was at a grocery or a drugstore. Yeah. So he was gone a lot, and he started driving, And they were in high school by then and ready for college almost. So they were okay with it.
Good.
My mom would miss me because I could have driven her to the store and done that because she didn't drive at the time. Mm-hmm. But they were okay with it. So we all, my mom, my dad, and my grandfather drove me to Adrian.
Okay, and your grandfather?
My grandfather. I don't know why my grandfather came. It was kind of, I don't know what the reason was.
Your mom or dad's?
My dad's father, yeah. We stopped at Notre Dame on the way. Don't remember what we did there. Maybe we stayed overnight there.
No football game.
Yeah, don't I wish. Yeah. Then we got to Adrian, and my mom says, "Is there anything you want before you go?" I guess they thought I'd never get anything. So I said, "Well, I'd like a strawberry sundae." So we stopped downtown in Adrian at a little drugstore to get a strawberry sundae. Well, the strawberries were not fresh strawberries. They were the syrup, that used to.
Oh, right.
So disappointed, but that was okay with me. Mm-hmm. There were probably about 100 of us the day I entered.
So you entered in
June 26, 1957.
A year after me. Okay, 1957.
Yeah, you're older.
Mm-hmm.
So anyhow, yeah. But for reception, my whole family came for the reception.
Oh, that was nice.
And my aunt and uncle. So it was a big family event.
And it was in Lumen at the time.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
In December. Lumen, right. When we put our wedding dress on, renounced the world.
Weren't they beautiful?
Oh, yeah.
You know, that ceremony, my mother always thought it was very hard for them,
Really?
you know, throwing off the.
I Renounce the World, was that what was?
Yeah, I think that was the part.
Yeah.
She told me that later on, but anyway, so you had a nice visit with your
Yeah.
family. Mhm.
Right. We didn't
And
get
then,
visiting very often in those
no,
days. In fact, our home visit was 5 years after, wasn't it? The first home visit? I think you had to be in 5.
unless you went far away, then you got to go home right away.
Oh, well,
But then you couldn't go home for 3 years.
I didn't go very far away.
Yeah.
After after first profession, I went to St. Philomena's in Detroit.
Oh, with Pete, with Father Lentini, was he there?
He was after.
Okay.
Yeah. We lived in there were 2 houses together with a breezeway in between, kind of.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Across from the school. Later on, they built a convent. And then I think Father Lentini came. I was there 7 years, which was unusual because normally you got changed before final profession.
Right.
For some reason, there were 2 of us in my crowd that didn't get changed before finals. But anyhow, I had Sister Dennis Marie was the superior.
Okay.
Albert, was that her last name?
Yes. Uh-huh.
She has since gone home to the Lord.
I think a lot of your people you
A lot of
have gone home. We're next in line.
Yeah. So I taught 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. We had 1 or 2 of those years I had a double combination class, like 7th and 8th grade together, small groups,
Did you enjoy teaching?
I did. I think
No.
I wasn't really thinking of teaching when I entered the convent.
I don't think any of us thought.
Just wanted to be a sister, yeah.
Yeah.
About what we were going to do. But
Mhm.
there were some really nice sisters I lived with. Teresa Estrada is still with us.
Right, she's my crowd, right?
Well, in the house that we had, there was like an attic, and they turned it into a bedroom. So Teresa and I were up there, and then she helped me a lot. One time it was my turn to cook, and they had something like cream potatoes, or what was it?
Chipped beef.
Chipped beef,
Chipped beef.
I needed that white sauce for it.
Yeah.
I was downstairs in the pantry, and I'm yelling up to her, "What's it come in?" It doesn't come in anything. You make it from scratch. So she taught me how to make it from scratch. Anyhow,
Didn't you learn how to cook coming from that big family?
I never cooked at home.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah.
My mom did the cooking. I watched the kids,
Yeah.
little babies and that.
Yeah.
Or did the errands, ran to the store, things like that. I never cooked.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not real fond of cooking, to tell you the truth. But I survived.
Yeah.
But I spent 7 years at St. Philomena's, and I enjoyed it. After Sister Dennis Marie left, Sister James Frances DeWitt, I think was her name.
Yes. She left. Yeah.
Noreen Burns was there.
Okay.
It was good, but I was changed. You know how you pack up everything when you go in for the summer, not knowing whether you're coming back or not. So I was changed to St. Dominic's in Shaker Heights, where Sister Thomas Howard was the principal at that time. Marilyn Foster.
Oh, yes, I know Marilyn.
And she was going home to the
Right.
Lord. Huh?
Right.
So we lived in the convent was a house about a block away from the school.
Mm-hmm.
And there I taught 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Wherever they needed someone, that's where you taught. That's the grade you taught.
Mm-hmm.
But it was a nice school. I liked it. I liked the people. Sister Pat Stumma lives in that parish right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a Quaker neighborhood, so everything was done in Quaker style, all the architecture and that.
Yeah. So that began your journey in Ohio, right?
That was my journey in Ohio. Yeah.
Which is
that
still
was during the changes started, the change, Vatican Council, the shortening of the habit, all those things started while I was at St. Dominic's.
And how was that for you, those changes that we had back then?
Did we have a category called First Innovators?
Yes.
Sister Jane Justine was the first one in our house to change to the habit. I was the second.
And who is she? Was she?
Jane Justine, what was her name? I don't remember.
Okay, no, that's on. So she was the first, and who was next? You?
I was the next. And there were about 6 or 7 of us in the house. And eventually, everybody changed.
Yeah.
I remember going home on Christmas, and my mother got me a very beautiful suit, knit suit. And I opened it, and I thanked my mom and dad. And my dad looked at me and says, "That's not from me." He was not in favor of changing, from the habit. It grew on him. But
yeah, they were the traditional, right. They were so proud to have someone, a nun or a priest. Yeah.
He wanted you to look like a nun.
Yes. Yeah.
So most of the changes came about that time.
So change is not hard for you.
Not real hard. No.
You seem flexible. Yeah.
I pretty much go with it. The name change was, I was Sister Phillip Ann Phillip, like a corporation, huh?
Yeah.
In fact, I was going to tell you, we used to do feast day cards. You know how the little kids would make a feast day card? And someone wrote me a feast day card, "Happy Feast Day, Sister Phillip Ann, Phillappan, Phillip Ann."
Phillip Ann.
So
now that was, how did you get your name?
Well, we submitted 3 names, and I don't think that Phillip Ann was one of mine.
Oh, okay.
I know Philip Canese, Ann Canese.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I had Phillip Ann as one of them.
That was always special, when the name we were going to have, and then the name we actually got.
Right. Well, it was close.
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. I like Mary Ann though.
Yeah, that's good. So then, go on with what you were.
I was there 7 years. 7 years in Detroit, 7 years at St. Dominic's. I started doing a master program at the time, and then I asked for a year of study. So I was given a year off to go to St. John's College, which was kind of called the Sisters College downtown Cleveland.
Okay.
Because every nun in the city went to that college, And I started my master's program for religious education.
Oh, so you were interested in that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, when I was at St. Dominic's, I did the CCD program, things like that. But I was interested in becoming a coordinator or director of religious education at the time. So I had a year off to study, and I lived at St. John, Nepomucene.
Okay.
Sister Rosemary Zaro was there.
All right.
Sister Carol Gross was there.
Okay.
And we had 3 Mary Anns in the house.
Oh, dear.
One was we had an IHM besides that. So it was an intercommunity. But Sister Mary Ann Szakowski was there.
Right. Oh, I knew her.
Sister Mary Ann Polish. We had Sister Mary Ann Arnold, who was an Akron Dominican.
Okay.
And I was Sister Mary Ann's student. So
that's
the phone rang, you say, "Which Mary Ann do you want?" But I studied there for a year and lived with the sisters at St. John's. And then one of the professors that I had said that they were looking for someone. I was the first one. They were looking for a religious education person to direct their program. So I interviewed at St. Leo, which is on the west side of Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the job as religious education coordinator. And we lived in inter-community too. There were Franciscans in the house, and Molly Nicholson lived there for a while. And I was there for 3 years. And during the 3 years, I fractured my leg, my ankle. I fell on the ice. So I was in a wheelchair and crutches for several months.
Wow.
And at that time, we had a change in pastors. And so when the new pastor came, time for a renewal of contract, he did not renew Molly Nicholson as pastoral minister. And then he said to me, "Well, you can stay or leave," which is kind of a hint, So I left St. Leo's only after 3 years.
Okay.
I did get my master's while I was there, graduated from St. John's College. And then I went back to the east side to Mentor, Ohio, and took the position of religious education coordinator with, I think we had probably about 1,200 students. And we had two
In
buildings.
religious ed?
Uh-huh.
Oh my.
Big parish. And they did not have a school when I first went there. So we rented 2 public schools for our classes. We had Sunday morning classes and we had Monday evening classes.
Okay.
It was a good place. It was a good team. It was a St. Joseph sister I lived with. And I was there for 10 years.
Oh,
which was
doing religious ed.
religious education. And I really loved it. I was very happy with that. I lived with the St. Joseph sister who accepted the position of Renew coordinator. Are you familiar with the Renew program?
Vaguely.
Well, she became the coordinator, and the bishop gave her an office down in the chancery, and she started the program, and then she asked me if I would come and co-direct with her. So after 10 years, I left St. John Vianney.
Wow.
And went into the Renew office, and that was training teams in different parishes. We had about 35 parishes, and we would travel around and train them and get materials ready for them. I was there 3 years, and then because the whole diocese did not accept the program, just certain parishes wanted it. So after 3 years, it was kind of phasing out. So I left that parish or that job and went to St. Brendan in North Olmsted, which was on the west side. And I became pastoral minister there.
Okay.
While I was in the Renew program and helping to direct it, I finished courses at the seminary and got a certificate in pastoral ministry.
You're well educated.
I was interested in that. So I was 20 years at St. Brendan's in North Olmsted in pastoral ministry. And I really loved it, you know. I mean, it's a variety.
What was it, Mary Ann? What was it that made it so special? I mean, you seem to have enjoyed every place you've been. You got life, yeah.
I like the team.
The team. So you like working in teams?
Well, we had a team approach, you know, and I like the variety, you know. I did adult education and a really, really good group of people working with me. And we did Mardi Gras, we did soup suppers, we did a variety of things. And then I also worked a lot with the funerals, preparing for funerals. I set up a lunch program for afterwards and got several people to sign up to bring food.
Yeah.
And, I organized that, but I just think working with the people, they were just wonderful people to work with. And I really, really enjoyed it. Then after 20 years there, we got a new pastor. I stayed on for another year, and then I thought, well, time for him to get his own team together. So I asked to go into chaplain work because working with the funerals and those people seemed to be the leaning I had toward working with the bereaved. And so I went into Chaplain School, CPE, for a year.
Okay, wonderful.
Worked at 2 different hospitals. And then when I finished the CPE, I took a position temporarily at Canton, Ohio, which was probably about 45 minutes from where I live. But I became chaplain there until I found Lutheran home. Now, you wouldn't think Lutheran home would want a Catholic chaplain, but probably 70% of the people in the Lutheran home were Catholic. And they had a Catholic chaplain who was retiring. And the Lutheran home was just 1 mile from my house, so it was really nice. So I became the chaplain at the Lutheran home.
It's interesting that you mentioned that about the Lutheran. I had a placement once at the Jewish Home for the Aged. And they're very interested in us, as I was very interested in them. And I'm sure you felt the same way, a different culture. Yeah.
But we had Mass, twice a month, and we had communion services. We had the rosary every week, and I introduced May crowning to them.
Oh my.
Well, the older people remember those kind of.
They do, right.
So I was at the Lutheran home for 3 years.
That's wonderful.
Then I retired, but you never retire.
No, thank God, yeah.
At that time, one of the former priests that I was with had a stroke, Father Murray, and he needed care. And when I was stationed with him at one time, he he said, well, would you ever be my power of attorney? I said, oh, sure, no problem. Healthiest man alive, born at home. Well, he had a stroke, and guess who was the power of attorney?
All right, so you took over.
I ended up
Very caring.
caring for him. He had almost 7 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then as he progressed, it got worse until he got dementia. And he had a fall and broke his hip and ended up in a nursing home. And of course, then the pandemic came and you could only visit at the window. So his niece, who lives about 25 miles away, she came in. We would visit at the window. And then the last month of his life, we were able to go inside. They lifted the restrictions.
Yeah.
So we saw him like on the last Thursday in October, and he died on All Saints Day, November 1st, just last November. So
did he know you both?
I think so. Yeah. He was very quiet. He was always a very quiet man anyhow, but I think he knew us. We would talk about different people in the family. So,
go on. I'm sorry.
So my life has changed.
Right, very much so. Yeah, very much so. But you're still about preaching the gospel and whatever it is that you're involved with. And you certainly evidence a very full life, and one that you adjusted to each change and what you chose to do and how well you integrated into whatever you were called to do. Did you have a certain motto or scripture saying that kind of was part of who you are?
Funny you should mention that. I was just looking at this. The Ephesians chapter 14. This is one of my favorites. This is why I kneel before the Father, from whom every family in heaven and earth takes his name, and I pray that he will bestow on you gifts in keeping with the riches of his glory. May he strengthen you inwardly through the working of his Spirit. May Christ dwell in your hearts through faith, and may charity be the root and foundation of your life. Thus you will be able to grasp fully with all the holy ones the breadth and length and height and depth of Christ's love, and experience this love which surpasses all knowledge, so that you may attain the fullness of God himself.
Wow.
One of my favorite passages. I don't know why.
That's your life. That's your life. And you have lived that. Be sure you put that in your funeral liturgy.
Oh, yes. I have to read. I've got the papers.
Wow. Yeah. But you got to put something on them. The other thing, is there something about you? Now, I didn't know you that well. I knew who Mary Ann Phillip was and stuff, but this has been great to know you a little bit better and what you've been about. But is there something about Mary Ann Phillip that we don't know that we say, oh my gosh, you're kidding, really?
She loves mysteries, reading mysteries, watching Rosalian Isles on TV.
I just found that. Yeah, very good.
Some of those I like. And when my father died, I cleaned out the house, and he had a disc that was all casino games. So then I put that in. I don't go to the casino very often, but I love the sound of that machine going. And you don't have to pay anything to watch it on the computer. So I kind of gives me joy.
Mary Ann, where do you think the Spirit might be leading you at this time?
Well, I have bad arthritis, but I got a cortisone shot, in fact, today. My knees stay well. I'd like to, I don't know if the Lutheran home will ever have us come back because of the pandemic, but I'd like to do like visitation of the homebound.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
He's a hospitaler. He founded a group of people. So he's a patron of administrators of hospitals, I guess. And that's the day I was born. So I'd like to work with the elderly, those who are homebound, and
Very good.
It all depends on what happens with this pandemic.
Right.
Now, I got the vaccine, but doesn't mean that you can go into homes,
Right. Yeah, but it's a little bit safer knowing that we've had both of those. Is there anything that you want to say that I didn't ask, or you had hoped would be asked, or that you prepared to say?
Read my notes. Well, it was interesting because when I said I would do it, I started to just writing down things, and I think it kind of helped me get my thoughts together. But it brought back so many happy
Yes. Yes. Yeah, we have been blessed. Mhm.
We were doing the awakening circles on Sunday,
Right.
and I asked the sisters there. I said, "Have any of you done this?" And they, no, no, no. I said, "Well, you ought to."
Good.
All
Keep it
my
up.
husband.
Keep it up,
No,
please.
because I think it's good. It reminds us of all the good things that we've done.
And it's a real gift to the congregation. And there's no right or wrong. It's our life. And we've all had a different experience that we want to share. And when we've lost so many sisters, it's unbelievable how many have said, I went back to her sister's story and I learned some things about her that,
I started looking at them again too. We
yeah,
all did autobiographies years ago when we were a mission group.
right.
And I'm going to ask for that to just add to it now.
Good, good,
Haven't done it
wonderful.
in years.
Well, okay, I know there's much more to talk about because our life in 30 minutes does not do justice to what we've been about. But anyway, in the name of the congregation and all of us, I thank you, Mary Ann, for sharing your story with us and the blessing that you have been to all the women that you've lived with and the people with whom you've come in contact with and continue to engage with. And you certainly have a loving, caring, hospitable spirit about you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for inviting me.
You what?
Thank you for inviting me to do it.
Oh, yes. Well, I invite many people, but I don't get a nice response all the time. So
Well, I'll push it for you.
good. You can be my advertisement, my advertiser. All right. So God bless you and thank you so much for doing this for us. Thank you.